Hello Logicalist, my name is Mayo Yan, I am the Red Logicalist, and this is the Logicalist Guide to generally the Japanese meta. This is kind of a special episode, mostly for the people who are going to the Nationals in New York State this weekend, on Friday, yeah. But I'll be going through some of the key cards of mostly HinaLogic, so set 1 and set 2, of HinaLogic that are crucial or things to just keep note of. If you have any questions, feel free to message or even post in the Logicalist group, and I will be there to comment. Hopefully this helps all of you guys understand a bit more of what's in the game and what there is. So, yeah, let's get straight to it. Quite a few cards because we're going through all 4 colors. It's organized. The characters are organized in random order, but it goes by colors. So we'll start with the yellow. First, we have Angel's Gospel Nina. So this is Nina's trance rare, and if you guys don't know, Nina's all about manipulating level zone and getting advantages off that. So let's go straight into this card. It can't be deployed, just like all of the TRs, except by trance. Auto ability, when it enters a field, if there's 4 or more face-up cards in your level zone, choose 2 cards from your hand that are either Nina or foreigners with Nina, and put them face-up in the level zone. EXL 3, plus 2 to your level limit. So this card is basically a very late game way to push forward. It gives you 6 attacks, which is insane since you can only attack the number of times as the face-up cards in your level, and this makes it 6. Being 1 territory also makes it so that if you have 6 1 territory members, they can all attack. Nina also has various ways to go through your level zone to cheat out characters, and we'll see a couple of those now, but we're not going through every Nina card. But yeah, this card is very strong to keep note of, and making sure that you're aware that they have it and are able to play it at a certain point. Sensing Trouble Nina. When your relation manual is placed on a zone that isn't, from a zone that isn't the battle zone to either the battle zone or the paradox zone during its battle, so from your hand or deck, whatever, because she has ways to cheat that out. Then you choose a card in your level zone, doesn't matter if it's face up or face down, put it on the bottom of your deck, and you put the top card of your deck into the level zone face up. So this is her catch-up mechanic. She's able to make it so that she can attack 4 times instead of 3 on her 4th turn going first. It's very strong in that regard. The EXL 3 is that when it attacks, you choose a paradox in your level zone, put it face up in the paradox zone, and if a card was put there from this effect, you put the top card into your level zone face up. If it isn't, then you draw a card. Yeah, this card's fine. Like, you get to basically trigger its first ability with the EXL 3. And if you don't have a paradox in your level zone, you just get a draw card. It's generally for the first ability. That's why they play it. Next, Sacred Outfit Nina. Once per turn, you can rest a card in your level zone to choose one of your other Ninas, and for the turn, it gets an ability that at the start of the end step of its battle, where it attacked, choose one member in your level zone whose printed level is X or lower, which is the number of cards in your level zone, and then deploy it, and then you drop all soul of this and put this in the level zone. That's, of course, the character you put this ability on. So this is another way to cheat out characters, so you don't always need a full board. But you do have to rest a card in your level zone, which generally isn't a big problem. But this can also attack, so it's very strong, actually. Sky Soaring Wings Nina. This is from HBT02. It's her double R in the new set. TC Nina, so one of her new TCs. This ability is only activated in the level zone when your other card is placed to your level zone due to your card's effect. So when you top deck or from hand or whatever, you can deploy this from the level zone to one of your unoccupied circles. Then if this card is deployed from this effect, put the top card of your deck face up into your level zone. This cheats itself out if you don't have a full board, which is really strong because without having 6, this can come in at any time of the battle. So if you're against this, you need to be wary of their level zone and keep track of what's there. If this is there, you want to be prepared for it. Relation Manual. This is the paradox combo with the other card, but it's also a good thing to keep note of. So it's a paradox for all your yellow members. You rest 2 Nina in your level zone when it gets flipped face down. And then if your member in battle is Nina and you pay the cost, you turn this face up, and their opponent chooses one of his or her battle zone and drop it. So basically, if your opponent overloads it and flips it down, they get to get rid of it, but you get to flip this back up, which can be really detrimental if your opponent doesn't have another paradox. You're able to keep it in paradox battle, which yellow generally wants to be doing. So that was the Nina. Nina's very strong in that regard. You mainly have to keep track of what's in her level zone, which you could cheat out, how many attacks you can get, and if they have the hand advantage. Like, if they don't have a lot of hand advantage and they play that TR, it's a lot weaker. So keeping track and being able to manage what they're doing is really strong as a player facing it. If you are playing Nina, the opposite, you want to be playing conservative until the end game, being able to hold off, defend, get your catch up when you need to, that sort of thing. Let's go to Tamaki. I believe I only have 1 or 2 Tamaki cards, because I'm not going through the older stuff, but if I'm on the idea that you guys know what existed in the sets before this that English actually got. If you guys don't, there's cards to look out for. There's Lovely Spiral Tamaki. There's also her Somerset card that intercepts 2 cards and you draw a card. Just things that give you a lot of random value and power off their own things. This card is EXO 3. During your opponent's turn, this member gets plus 20,000 power, becoming 30,000, plus 2 aura, becoming 3 aura, and minus 2 limit, so she only goes to 1. But all of your Tamaki also can't be chosen by the abilities of your opponent's cards, so they can't target any of your stuff, and this thing is a huge wall. If this was 2 territory, it'd be absolutely insane. But it's minus 2 limit, so you want to basically fight this with a card that can catch up to it in 1 card's worth of value. If you have to do 2, it's not too bad, but then you're on an even playing field. Where both of you really only have 1 limit to do something. Though if you are on the offensive, the Tamaki player is probably going to have to play their card first, and if it's a plus 2 limit, then cool, they're out 1 more card in their hand. But if you are able to get to this much power or aura with 1 card's value, then you have 2 limit to work with while they only have 1. So that sort of thing. If you're the Tamaki player, you want to be holding on to plus 2 limits early and being able to use this as a very definitive wall for the end game that your opponent has to do a lot of effort to get through. And you want to, this is one of the few Tamaki cards that actually wants to be fighting in power, because getting to 30k power is a lot harder than getting to 3 aura, especially with all the new cards that give a lot of aura. But if you have stuff like Lovely Spiral in hand and your opponent's fighting an aura, you can bounce back really easily. Another Tamaki card, TC Tamaki, and you can EXO 1 startup ability, rest this member. If you have 2 or more other Tamaki, choose one of your opponent's member with fewer soul than this member, and during the next turn it can't stand by anything, so even Yukari can't stand it with her abilities. But so basically you rest this, and then if it has 2 or 1 soul, you choose a member with fewer soul, so it has to have, if you trance with 2 full cards into this, you have to choose something with 1 soul or less, or if you really want to, you can trance and then trance change it into this so that it has 3 to 4 soul. That seems like a stretch. But yeah, you can stun something. Like, this isn't backbreaking, but it is a level 3 AK to look out for if it does come up. Let's go on to Senna. Senna's level 3 double R from the second set is actually very good. So when it trances, so not when it's trans into, but when you go into something else, since she has TC, you choose one of your Senna and blink it. Basically, blink is purge the entire character, including its soul, and then put it back into play. Card comes back standing, if I recall correctly. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it does. So if it was rested, or if it had any abilities on it like stun, like the last Tamaki, you can blink it. You get on play abilities again. I think I have an on play ability here. Yep. When this member enters the field, search your deck for up to 2 cards that are either Senna or foreigners with the Covenant Senna, and then deploy them, shuffle your deck, and the deployed members gain 2k. Generally, you want to be blinking this so you get more value. You EXO into this. With that last card, you get 2 units. You blink this, you get another 2 units. Easy full board. Very strong. Senna doesn't have too much that you really have to worry about, but the fact that she can build a board out of nothing is really relevant. What was... Oh, okay. I just have 2 tabs of this for some reason. HPT 1 set. Okay, so done talk about the characters. Those were the main key cards that I wanted to talk about. There are obviously going to be others. Keep a track of what your opponent has, read cards, figure it out. But those are the main things that I recommend keeping an eye out for. So let's go on to the yellow tactics that can work with all of them, I believe, and are actually very strong. When this tactic is placed onto your battle zone, if your member in battle is yellow with 1 or more soul, you may pay the cost, which is rest the card in your level zone. If you do, that member gains 5 aura and you RNG 1. It's real strong. So basically, by giving up a level boost, you go 5 up plus whatever other card you get. It can be what? +2 limit, +2 aura, 5k, another one of this, because this doesn't have to be placed from your hand. Yeah, it's very strong. So when you're against yellow, you generally want to fight in power, but like with that Tamigi card, sometimes that can be hard. Wish of Determination, pay 4 when this tactic is placed in the battle zone. If your member in battle is yellow, pay the cost. If you do, you choose a paradox in your drop zone, put it face up in your paradox zone, then choose a card that's yellow in your level zone and stand it. So it's a very big cost at 4, but you have to be aware that your opponent is not using limit to change the battle to aura, or even using that paradox to overload yours, and then they get a level boost back. So they can get some advantage out of this, but I don't think it's too much of a key card that you need to worry too much about, but it is there. Let's go on to red. We're going to start with Lion's level 4. This is her TR. It can't be deployed except via trance. EXL 3. Auto ability, when it attacks, if you have 5 or more lions purged for this member, for this battle, this member gets the ability that if it wins, you purge all of the battle opponent and its soul. And then after it gains this ability, you can purge a card from your hand, and if you do, then it also gets the ability that if your opponent would place a paradox onto the battle zone, instead you purge it. So it doesn't get on-play abilities, it doesn't overload paradoxes, it just goes away. The reason it's organized this way, if you didn't realize, is because you can still get the second ability, if I recall correctly, without getting the first. But if you only have 4 purged, you can't get the first ability, but you can get the second. If I am wrong about that, then you just can't get the entire ability, and this card becomes a lot worse. But Lion has a lot of ways to get 5 and purge really easily. If you're against this, paradoxes become a lot worse. Tactics are your go-to in this fight. If you're playing this, I don't know what to say. You're playing a meta deck and it's freaking busted. I play this deck. Don't worry about it, guys. Next card. Filled with Gratitude Lion. This one isn't too strong. It's a paradox combo that gets 4k power, basically 2k, and then if you have 5 or more cards purged, another 2k. But the main reason for this is the EXL 3. During your turn, this gets 3k power continuous, and the auto ability that when it wins a battle, if you have 2 or more other lions, you get +1 to your attack limit. Lion has a catch-up mechanic in very, very many ways. This is one of them. She has a level 3 I'll be talking about, and even in the TD, she has something that kills a level 2 or lower with any number of soul. So you have to keep an eye out for their drop zone and deck to see, or drop zone and level zone to see, and their purge zone, I guess, to see what kind of cards they're playing. Because if they are playing this catch-up, then you can play around it by trying to win this battle at all costs and setting up your board accordingly. If they're playing the other ones, you can't do too much, but you can still figure out a way. Desire in a Heap Lion. I don't know why I said that. EXL 3, when it enters the field, if there's 25 or more lions purged, choose 2 of your opponent's members and purge them. This card to keep track of. Count the number of cards in the purge zone. I doubt this will ever go off. I have tried. I get to 19 and then I refresh with like 6 cards in deck. It's not that good. But if they get to 25 and you see that they have a giant pile in their purge zone and this lands, you will just lose because you just purge 2 members straight up. The soul might not get purged, but just 2 gates are completely open and you are dead. But I really doubt this will go off, and it's really telegraphed. But be aware that it exists just in case. Rampaging Twin Blades Lion, one of her best cards, level 3 TC, Startup ability, EXO1, rest this and purge 2 line from your hand. Choose one of your opponent's members with 0 soul, does not matter about the level, and you drop it. So if she's going second, she can break an extra gate. If she's going first, she can catch up at level 3 and then also catch up at level 4 and be basically a turn ahead if she's going first or second. This is one of the most backbreaking cards in the Lion deck, and why, in my opinion, it is the best deck in the Japanese format right now. The thing to note if you're playing against this is that if you, at level 2 and level 3, you double trance by trancing normally and then trans-changing in a separate instance, not with the card you trance into, you can have a board of 4 sold units that can't be killed by this, which some of my friends have done against me, and is actually a viable way to deal with this card. And then you'll even have TCs or logic drives that are useful on your next turn. So it's a very good thing to note about this card, that there is play around. You just have to be well prepared for it, and sometimes it can just get there and you can't do much, but there's always a way out. Recording the Covenant Line, another one of her amazing cards. I say that because I play this, but if I didn't, I would probably hate it with no passion at all. Just burn it, kill it, done. Logic Drive, pay 2, draw a card. It's really relevant because when she comes into this, she can basically draw 3 for the price of 3, which is insane. With her covenants. EXO1, purge a card from your hand. When this member attacks, if you have 2 or more other members, they have to be lion, even though the translation doesn't say that. On the card it says 2 or more other lion. You may pay the cost. If so, for the battle, this member gains the gate in the circle that this member is attacking, loses all abilities. So if she attacks a gate, before your opponent flips it, make sure you use the ability, purge a card from your hand. Gate abilities don't activate. There is no play around to this. If it goes off, it goes off. You can, I guess, the only play around is not letting them just break your gates. But if there's a gate there and they null it, you can't do anything. Like, this card is, because it's not interacting with anything, it's just stopping what you're doing. It's so crucial that you're aware of it, because you have to be prepared on not relying on your gates to win. But sometimes you just have to, and while they won't always have this to nullify every single gate, it is there for the most crucial ones, like the second and third last ones, where your 4th and 5th gates, where your 4 and 5 gates will trigger. They can nullify them. You have to be prepared and know that this is here, so that you can build your hand in a way that can rebound really hard. One of her newer cards, her double R from the new set, TC line, of course, EXO1, purge a line from your hand as an auto ability when this translates into something else. If there's 5 or more cards in your purge zone, you can pay the cost. If you do, the deployed member gains the ability that during this member's battle, your opponent cannot level boost for the turn. In any of the battles, they can't level boost, so not even just that one. But the play around to this is obviously using your level boost on the offensive. That's a very simple strategy. If you don't have to do that too early. Like, if you want to use your early game level boost more defensively, that's fine. But when you're down to 2 or 1 gate left, you want to be using your level boost offensively for the chance that they just play this and you just lost 4 draws, basically. Royal Garden, this is the Paradox combo that I was talking about earlier. The Paradox combo isn't too major, but this is one of the reasons you have to keep an eye out on what's in their purge zone. So when you play this Paradox, if your battle member is Lion, purge a card from your hand, and then that member gains 1 limit, and choose a Lion in your purge zone and put it face up into the battle zone. So for the cost of a card in your hand, you're basically trading a card in your hand for any card in your purge zone, and you're getting a limit, which is very strong. But if you keep an eye out for what's in the purge zone, then you'll be prepared for what's in stock. Though they can always just purge a card from their hand and then take that card they purged and put it into the battle zone with an extra limit, which is fine. Crossfade Yukari, I believe this is the only Yukari card I'm talking about. Most of Yukari's power comes from her older cards. Her newer cards aren't too strong, but this card's fairly powerful. When your member stands via the effect or ability of your card, this gains 2k for the turn. EXO3, of course. Then if X is 2, +1 to your attack limit. If X is 3, this member gains the auto ability when this member attacks. Stand this member. X is the number of times this ability has played during this turn. So if you stand during your main phase, this is going to get a ton of power. She has ways to stand multiple units, so you can rest, use an ability, stand it, rest, use an ability, stand it, do that sort of stuff. And basically, so I might be wrong about this, and if I am, please tell me, but I think that if your member stands, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to say other, but I'm not sure, but if your member stands and its X is already 3 or more, when she attacks, is she gonna stand again? I don't know if she can get that ability again and again. It's printed as if she should, but I'm not 100% sure. If she can, this card is very strong. But once again, it's just another one of her restanding characters. I think her TR is still more backbreaking than this. A 15k attacker that becomes 20k with 2 aura if your opponent fights it. And the ability to dodge 4 gates, that's another story. Wait. Nope, never mind. That doesn't work. Wait, no, it does work. End of battle. Yeah. But that's something else. When we do a Yukari video, I'll talk about that. But yeah, let's keep going. Magico. If you've seen my Magico video, you already know that I love Magico and her cards are very strong. Things to keep note of. I'm just going over them again in case people didn't see that video or they just want a reminder. This one is EXL 3 startup. Drop one of your Magico. Choose one of your opponent's members. It gets minus 3k. Then if that member has 0 soul and its power is 0 or lower, you drop it. So this is Magico's own catch-up mechanic. It's strong. She has a lot of ways to reduce power other than this, so comboing them together makes it very easy for her to give a character minus 10k. Even if you have a member with soul or you're not worried about the thing just dropping, she can target one of your interceptors and just straight up kill it, or she can just like minus 10k to one of your last units and then just attack it. So really, you want to be fighting an aura against a lot of the red decks. That's the main thing. So, but the way Magico plays, and since Burning Grudge does stop paradoxes from being played without paying 2, and she has random stock removal, it does become a lot harder. But if you stock up on paradoxes and the Magico player hasn't, you can play around accordingly in that way. Shivering Reaper Magico, TC Magico, and then she's able to rest to revive a level 2 or lower Magico or Covenanter with Magico. So just being aware that this is one of the most vital things on the board. If it's there, you want to get rid of it as soon as you can, because the first turn it comes out, you can't do anything, and it pays for itself by resting and reviving something. Every other turn, it's just a pure plus, and worst case scenario, it's grabbing something to trance with. This card is insane, and you want it off the board if you want to limit the amount of pluses and advantage Magico has. As the Magico player, you want to be defending this harder than you normally would. You can use paradoxes early to fight them, or find other ways around it, defending it really well, making sure it's properly positioned, that sort of thing. Let's go on to the red tactics. Pay 3 when this tactic is placed on battle zone. If your member in battle is red and there's 3 or more cards between your battle zone and the intercept zone, you may pay the cost. If so, you drop every card with power logic in your opponent's battle zone and intercept zone. I think I said your battle zone. I meant to say your opponent's battle zone for the first part. So basically, if your opponent has 3 or more cards total that they're defending with, you drop every card that has power logic. So your opponent's going to get the limit back, but they're out of the cards that do it. So this is very strong for the red decks, making sure they win in power. If there are tactics and such that give power, you can't do anything about it, but being able to get rid of the intercept and everything is very crucial, so know that this card exists. Found Eavesdropping. This is one of the best ways for red to fight in aura. I love this card. I'm playing it in every red deck I have, and it's immensely powerful. When this card is placed on battle zone, pay 2. as long as your member in battle is red with 1 or more soul. And then if you do it gets with 2 limit, you RNG 1, so put the top card of your deck into the battle zone face up and gain a limit, and choose a card in your opponent's battle zone with Aura Logic and turn it face down. So it doesn't give your opponent back limit. It flips it down. If they had any on-play abilities, they keep it, whatever, but they lose 2 they lose 2 aura, you gain 2 aura, and you get another card from the top of your deck. That can be basically anything. It's very strong in that regard, and if you are fighting against red in aura, you want to be aware that this and the other card exist, to make sure you can like check your opponent's drop zone and stuff they level with to make sure you know what they're playing. Like if they're playing one of these and you don't see the other one, it might be right to play against it, but if they're playing both, you can't really do much, but play to your knowledge of what there is. It's going to green, Mischievous, Tentacles, Ashley is spelt wrong. 4 TransUnion 4, like a lot of Ashley cards, costs 1, which is different. All the other cards we've talked about cost 0. Startup ability, EXL 3, once per turn, pay 4. Choose 2 of your opponent's members, and your opponent chooses 1 of them, and the stalks that member that they chose with all of its soul. So insta kill something. This is her catch-up mechanic. In the late game, if your opponent has 2 gates left, you can just target those both, open one up right away. If your opponent only has 1 gate left, they'll always choose the one that's not on the gate, of course. But this card is really strong in the fact that it's always going to be a bad choice if the Ashley player is thinking about accordingly doing this and being able to pair this with her Logic drives that gain a ton of power as a defense or offense is really powerful. And Ashley has the ability to keep a lot of her cards alive with a lot of her on attack or on defense pay 1 gain power abilities. And as you'll see in a little bit, green has a lot of powerful tactics that defend them and fight offensively. So losing a card right away and going into your stock is crucial, but use that stock to your advantage. And sometimes it might be the right choice to choose a character with more soul. If they choose 2 things on 2 gates, it might be the right choice to choose the one with more soul if you need the stock, right? Like you just want to be figuring out numbers and figuring out what the Ashley player can do. Get them all Chloe. Wow, what a perfect name, actually. I never even saw the name for this. EXL 3, when it attacks, if the level of the battle opponent is 4 or higher, you choose one of your opponent's members that isn't battling, and for the battle, that member that is not battling gains the ability that when your member loses a battle, stock this member and all of its soul in any order during that battle. And then this member gains 10k and the battle opponent gains plus X power, where X is the power of the battle of the member chosen by this ability. Basically, the easiest way to explain this card is you attack something, you choose another thing, as long as you're fighting something that's level 4 or higher, you combine those powers, she gains 10k, and you're fighting both of them at the same time with only the limit of the character you're attacking, which is probably going to be 3. Unless you're Tamaki and you're fighting 1. But you probably don't want to do this against Tamaki because she's already like 30k power and you're just making it tougher. She doesn't gain any aura, so that's a good way to fight against this. If you are the Chloe player, you want to be holding up paradoxes to cancel aura. But yeah, this card is another catch-up mechanic that Chloe has. Chloe had the Gatebreaker ability, where if it attacks and wins the battle, you break the gate instead of the character. Well, sorry, no, you break the gate and the character. But this is another interesting way, and being able to use both of those, she has the ability to attack, break the character and the gate, attack with this, open up 2 gates, and use your lasso attack to break both of those, so she can break 3 gates in 1 turn. Very strong. If I did the math right. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. God's Whirlwind Yayoi. Let's start talking about the new character. TR can't be deployed except via trance. Oh, if I didn't say earlier, which I don't think I did, all the TRs have no logic definition. They are 13k power and 2 aura, but cannot be deployed except via trance. Good to know. EXL 3, startup. Once per turn, stock close 7, and then you stock open everything, and then this member gains the ability when you perform logic definition. So when you put a card from your hand into the battle zone, you must put a card from that before this ability activates, this member gains +1 limit, and then you choose a green card in your stock and put it into the battle zone face up. A lot of the tactics work from anywhere. You get a limit, so you're not wasting any limit, and this is mandatory. If you are against Yayoi, keep track of what's in your stock. If you are Yayoi, keep track of what's in your stock. Play accordingly. Also, X is... it actually says stock open X, but X is the number of cards in your stock, so you stock up everything. It's really relevant to know that all of our other stock close abilities will be active, which is why this card's so strong. And being able to use any card in your stock as a logic definition is very strong. So yeah, this card's good. But I don't think Yayoi is the strongest of the new TRs, in my opinion. I think it's actually one of the weaker ones. I think Nina is just as... They're all strong. I'm not going to say they're not. But if I had to order them, Lions would be strongest, My Heroes would be next, and then Yayoi and Nina are tied for last. But they're still very strong cards that you need to be aware of. Genius Who Works Hard Yayoi. Stock close 5. When this member attacks or defends, you can pay the cost. If so, for the battle, this member gains 10k power. And then if it was attacking when you used it and she wins, destroy the gate in the circle being attacked. So she's a gate shatter ability. If she wins a battle, she also breaks the gate. It's very strong. On defense, she could be a 20k defender. On offense, she could be a 20k attacker with gate shatter. Like, this card's great. It's a catch-up mechanic for Yayoi. Stock closing 5 can be hard, but generally isn't. Let's keep going. Weird Air Yayoi, another card to keep note of. If all your members are either Yayoi or foreigners with the Yayoi, whenever you would pay the stock for a tactics, auto or startup, so it works on your main phase tactics that I am not talking about in this video, but things to note. You can instead do stock close X, where X is the stock of the ability. So basically, all of her tactics cost flipping down cards instead of paying out cards, which is absolutely, like, oh god, that's so strong. I don't even know how to say this, but like, if this is out, like, this isn't even like an EX ability. This is just on the ability. If your opponent goes into the TR and then just has this, you can logic definition card from your hand, play a card or play a tactics from your stock, and then flip down cards to pay for that card. To pay for that tactics. Like, you are already going to lose the cards you are going to pay out for the tactics from your arsenal for logic definition, but with this you get to keep the stock even though you're losing those cards for the TR's logic definition. But this card opens up so many gateways to figuring out what to do. Reliable Sutra, the one paradox I'll be talking about for Yayoi. This ability is only active in stock. You drop it from stock when this paradox is turned face up from the cost or ability of one of your Yoi. And then you choose one of your member, it gets 5k for the turn. It's generally not too strong, but sometimes it might be useful. Like, I wish it worked if it was also flipped down, but I guess there's no way to confirm that. Like, you can be like, when it gets flipped down, take it out right away, but I guess she doesn't want to deal with that gray area. So it's a lot harder to use this on defense. I don't actually know if you can use this on defense, but if you can, sure, figure that out. I don't actually know if you can, but being able to flip it face up and then getting rid of it, 5k power, pretty useful. Let's go on to Yuko. Yuko, in my opinion, Yuko's not too strong. She can pair easily into other decks though, because of some of her cards. This is one of them. I'll explain why in a sec, but Yuko has the ability to make a lot of other decks stronger if they find the room for her. On her own, I don't think she's strong yet, but after a few sets, she'll probably get enough support to be phenomenal. So when idea creation is placed on your battle zone, which is paradox combo, you may pay 2. If you do, synthesis 4. Synthesis is her ability. So as you can see on the card, there's a little green box under all her text. That's basically each card that Yuko has a tool skill that is in a separate deck of yours, and it's 4 cards. And basically, when you synthesize a number, you choose a level of that number or lower and activate it. So Synthesis 4, you choose any level 4 or lower in your secret tool deck, flip it face up, use its ability, and then put it back face down. The reason why I say this is splashable and you can put it in a lot of decks is because when you use your Paradox combo and you pay 2 to Synthesis 4, one of her Synthesis 4 that I actually have on here is the ability to basically nullify gates. I'll get into it in a bit, but let's keep talking about this card for a sec. EXL 3, when this member wins a battle while attacking, if you have performed Synthesis 2 or more times, choose one of your opponent's stock or members with 0 soul and stock it. Doesn't care about level. There's a catch-up mechanic. You can get rid of a character on the field. If you are playing some of the Yuko TCs, you can trance into this and get there. If you're playing a full Yuko deck, this is one of the key cards to catching up. And her tool skill is that you choose one of your opponent's members and give the ability that it can't stand or move from circle to circle until the end of your opponent's next turn, so you completely stun it and lock it down. The only way to stop that is, of course, playing over. But if you choose a very vital card or choose a card that's on a gate and it had soul or something, your opponent's going to be very reluctant to do that. Emergency Care Yuko. This is the secret tool skill that is very crucial, but let's talk about the rest of the ability first. When you perform Synthesis, this gets 2k. Logic Drive, pay 3. This member gains the ability that when it attacks or defends, you Synthesis X, where X is the level of the battle opponent until the end of your opponent's turn. So one of her Synthesis skills is level 3, and it's 5k 2 aura. So you're able to, on attack or defend, gain 5k 2 aura and basically be up 2 cards worth of value for a Logic Drive, which is perfectly fine. This tool skill is what makes the Yuko core a bit more splashable, where it's choose one of your members, any of them, doesn't matter if it's Yuko, if it's a level 1, level 2, whatever, and for the ability, for the turn, it gets the ability that if your opponent's gate would be destroyed, it doesn't get destroyed, so it doesn't trigger the gate abilities. It just flips up and your opponent's stock boosts 1. It's very backbreaking. It's as strong as it has the same ability to mess with your opponent's gates, especially the 4 and 5 gates that are broken second to third last. Just like the Lion level 2, but the difference is that this is later in the game. So be aware that this exists. If your opponent is playing Tetra Heaven or any core of Yuko, keep an eye out for this. Just because your opponent has a secret tool deck, it doesn't mean they're playing Yuko. They might just have thrown-in cards to throw you off. But the fact that Yuko's splashable is actually one of the scariest things about the secret tool deck. And she's the only new character that's easily splashable, in my opinion. EXL 3 on Yuko's level 4 has no other abilities. You Synthesis 1, 2, 3, 4 for the cost of 4 once per turn. You can just trigger all our abilities. Synthesis 1, you get 5k or 2 aura. Synthesis 2, draw a card or stock 3. Synthesis 3, 5k, 2 aura. 5k and 2 aura, or salvage a Paradox, ditch one. Synthesis 4, stun a character or nullify gate abilities. There's a few others, like her promos have different secret tool skills, but those were the main ones that I remember. But yeah, like this is a card to keep note of that your opponent can just go off. Goddess of the River Styx, her best, or her most vital foreigner in my opinion. It's a covenant with Yuko, and if you deploy Yuko, of course, all level 3 or lower cards in your tool zone get -1 level for the turn. So the most crucial one is your level 2, draw a card, becoming level 1. So if you use that, if you trance into that Yuko we just saw, you can draw 5k 2 aura, do something else, and then like nullify gates. Being able to, thank God it's not level 4 or lower, because then stunning early and nullifying gates early is actually freaking dumb. But minusing 1 level for the level 3 or lowers, it's fair, and it's a very good ability, and you need to be aware of what cards Yuko has that she can pull off. Idea Creation, I believe this is the Paradox combo. When this is placed onto the battle zone, if your member battles Yuko, you can pay 2 to Synthesis 2. It's fine. That's really all it is. You just get to Synthesis 2. Generally it's going to be draw a card or stock 3. Might be 5k or 2 aura, but this is mainly for the splashing Yuko. Let's go on to the green tactics. Only got one more color after this. Hopefully time's not running too long. We're at 40 minutes. Okay, well then. Pay 3. When this tactics is placed on the battle zone, if your member in battle is green and there are more cards in your battle zone than your opponent's, you can pay the cost if you do drop this tactics, and both your opponents and your stock get shuffled into the... Oh, both your opponent and your battle zone get shuffled into stock. Yeah, so basically you want to use this only when you're like at last limit and can't deal with it. You're just like, get rid of all of our battle zones, put into stock. It resets the battle basically, and either you or your opponent is gonna have to fight again from the beginning, and it can be very vital to keep cards in hand against this, so that you're aware that green might have this. Maybe I should just give up the fight. Maybe I should fight and hope they don't have it. If they don't have enough stock, go for it, of course. But this card can do a lot in that regard, where if your opponent doesn't see it coming, it just blows them out. If they do see it coming, it's not as great, but it's still there. And if your opponent's low on hand, this card just becomes an instant win. Astronomical observation. Pay 3 when it's placed on the battle zone. If your member in battle is green with 1 or more soul, you can pay the cost. If so, choose up to 2 members in your drop zone, put them on the bottom of your deck, and for the battle, your member in battle gains 4 aura, 1 limit, and you RNG 1. Green has mass aura. I don't know what to say about this card. Be aware that it's there. That's about it. Like, if you want to be fighting an aura against green who already has high power, it's hard. But if they don't have this, or they don't have the stock, which they generally should because they're playing green, this is their way to... Sometimes you have to just force fight the battle in aura, and then if they have this, you might just have to keep going in aura. But if they don't have this, then you're winning. But that is if the deck is really strong on defense for power. A bond more than just master and servant. This ability only activates in hand. Pay 1, ditch this. Choose one of your green members that gains 5k. Then if that has 1 or more soul, 5k until during your opponent's next turn as well. It's just a power boost. Be aware that it might be coming. Don't be super surprised. These new startup ability tactics do have power 5k as a logic definition, so they're playable. Just being aware that it exists is the main reason for me making this video. But yeah, let's go on to blue. Springwind Dance Giselle. Her new cards aren't great. I doubt people will be playing a Giselle deck, but if it's there, it's there. When this member enters field, drop the top 4 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 Giselle dropped by this ability. Return to your hand. Choose one of your opponent's level X or lower members with 0 soul. Return it to the hand. And X is the number of cards that are either Giselle or foreigners with Covenant or Giselle that were milled from this ability. It's a catch-up mechanic that Giselle finally has. It is enter play, and it does bounce the character. It doesn't bounce the... Oh, it doesn't. Has to be member with 0, so forget what I just said. But it's a card. It's really luck-based because you have to mill Giselles. You can just miss and hit paradoxes, but you can bounce a level 4. It's real strong. If it gets there, it gets there, but Giselle's cards aren't too backbreaking that you have to worry too much. Fist of Victory mana. Mana has become a lot stronger with her new Penguin support. Level 4 10k, EXL 3 when it attacks. If it's adjacent, that member that it's fighting gets minus 1 limit, rather. And this member gets the ability that when this member wins a battle, choose one of your opponent's level 4 or lower with 0 soul, return to the hand. It's awesome. It's a catch-up mechanic that mana really needed. It's her new deck's all about adjacent, and she got a new adjacent card that makes all her cards adjacent. So this card is very strong. Be aware that it's there. Basically, if you are the player against this, you need to be willing to defend your level 3s against this card on the turn your opponent's trying to catch up. So play conservatively, keep a balance of what you need in hand to fight it. If your opponent's already out a lot of paradoxes somehow, you can play around it by keeping those up. Otherwise, I don't know what to say. Like, it's just like another catch-up mechanic. Most of the catch-up mechanics, the best way to play around them is just to fight accordingly and make sure you win the battle to defend it. If it goes through, then now, even though you're going second, you're behind in gates and want to figure that out. But yeah, like, this card's fine. Walk on the seafloor mana. This is the one that makes all of her cards adjacent. All your mana with 1 or more soul gain 2k power and are considered to be adjacent. It's mainly for that ability. Let's go on to My Hero. All cannons firing My Hero. This ability is active in all zones, can't enter except by trance because it's a TR. EXL3 auto ability. When this member enters the field, turn all your cards with set. So all your explosions that are under gates, flip them up, drop them, and then if you flipped at least 7 or more, even if they were misses, choose one of your opponent's members, doesn't matter about level, doesn't matter about soul, and you drop it. This is a catch-up mechanic, which generally shouldn't be that early. Or even more than that, it is an insta way to open a gate. It is very strong and can just, like, is one of the reasons why My Hero is able to be so destructive, is because she has this ability to activate all of her explosions, which are things like power, aura, bouncing, drawing. There's a few others, but it's mainly about getting incremental advantage all at once and then just being able to kill something. The best way to play around the My Hero deck is if you have an extra attack or are willing to give up an attack, attacking their gates that have cards under them, because even if you attack properly and you build a board properly, because the bounce card can only bounce level 2 or lower that are not foreigners. If you're using foreigners to attack gates and stuff like that, you can, or they set it under broken gates, you can attack those because explosion is mandatory, so you can get rid of those preemptively and keep their number of explosions down, so that when they want to get to 7, it becomes a lot harder for them to actually get there. Sure, they can probably reach and get there in a turn, but it becomes a lot harder if you're just in every turn or like every 2 turns getting rid of a few explosions. This card's good, but there is play around to My Hero. Twinkle Saber My Hero, her catch-up mechanic. At the start of your battle phase, choose one of your gates, and you just immediately set a card there and give it the detonate ability. EXL3, when this member attacks, choose one of your members that choose one of your cards that's in a set state. Turn it face up, drop it. Then if the card dropped from this is a foreigner, so if it activated, choose one of your opponent's level 3 or lower members and return that member for all of its soul to the hand. So you bounce anything on attack. It's a catch-up mechanic. It's good. Don't make a misplay like some people I know. And attack a level 3 because you wanted to get a threat off the board on your catch-up turn. Should have just attacked the foreigner, because if your opponent is playing accordingly against My Hero, they'll have quite a few foreigners on the field, and some of them will even be on gates. So if you're using a catch-up, you can just attack the foreigner, bounce something else, and then break 2 gates to catch up. You don't need to try that hard to get rid of threats on the board when you're My Hero. And if your opponent isn't understanding of My Hero and getting rid of explosions randomly, then this card goes off. And yeah, you can basically, if your opponent bounces, if you bounce your opponent's stuff and you're playing My Hero and your opponent doesn't know how to play against My Hero, they just lose. Diffuse Mind, My Hero. Oh, is this entire card even on the video? Okay, it got cut off. Cool. My Hero has too much text and the formatting is really weird. Let me. Yeah, no, there's no way I can fix this. I'll just talk about this quickly. Paradox combo. Choose one of your cards in the set zone. Flip it face up. Then if the card turned face up is a foreigner, put it to your hand. If it was a miss, you drop it. At the start of your opponent's battle phase, this is the part that's not on the screen, choose 2 of your cards in the set state. Give them detonate. The detonate skill that they flip face down if they're a foreigner. Otherwise you drop it and then you turn them face up. So you activate 2 of your explosions, and then if they were hits, they go back face down. It's a good thing to keep note of. Not super vital, and there's a lot of there's not too much room for level 4s in the My Hero deck, but if this card is there, you want to be aware of where your opponent activated them, where they are, so you know that they have certain explosions in certain locations. I'm gonna do this so you can see quickly. Here's the card. I'll leave it up for a few seconds. Pause the video if you needed to. Let's go back to big size. Next card. Heavy and thick armaments, my hero. She thick. God. TC, my hero. EXO 1 startup restless member. Look at the top 3 cards, rearrange them in any order, and then choose one of your gates, and you set the top card to a face down, and you give it explosion, the explosion ability, and then you can choose up to one of your set cards, and then turn it face up and drop it. So you look at the top 3, rearrange them, put it under, and then you may activate an explosion. If they're all misses, too bad. It is one more card that you can add towards counting up to your TR. But if it wasn't a miss, and you hit certain cards that are very, very strong, like the bounce card that we'll see in a bit, this card is so backbreaking if you get off with a little bit of luck what you need. Let's go on to functional test my hero, because this is on the same vein as the last card. It's also a TC and has the EXO1 rest this. This is draw a card, and then you choose a card from your hand and put it face down under the gate. So this has a bit more control, as you get to basically dig one card, but then choose any card in your hand, put it face under, and if you put the next card we're going to talk about face under, it becomes so crucial. But it doesn't activate thing right away like the other one did. The other one, you only get to look at the top 3, you don't get to choose something from your hand, but with a little bit of luck, or something you already set up, like you might have already used this for the turn, set a card from your hand face down, and then activate it with the other card, because it doesn't have to be the card you set with the other My Hero's ability. This is the most backbreaking detonate skill that My Hero has, in my opinion. It's level 1, 3k vanilla, does absolutely nothing except detonate. Choose one of your opponent's level 2 or lower members that is not a foreigner, return that member and all of its soul to the hand. So if your opponent is not aware of how My Hero works, please be aware of it. That's why I'm making this video. And they attack a gate that this is under, mandatory flips up, and then you just bounce the attacker. Doesn't break the gate, doesn't attack the character that might have been on the gate. Yeah, this card is so powerful. And if you use it on offense, like you put it face down under somewhere and then you activate it with an ability, and your opponent doesn't have like 2 foreigners on their front gates defending stuff, or 3 foreigners or whatever, then you can just break 2 gates on your second turn, and it's actually the worst feeling in the world. It takes like a game or 2 to understand how strong that really is, but the best way to defend against it is just to have extra foreigners in your deck and on the field that they can't bounce, so that if they do it, so that it basically becomes a normal game where if your opponent wants to break a gate, they have to either attack your one open gate if you have it there, or kill a character then kill a gate. They can't just bounce and then break an entire column. Giant Leap, her tactics when this is placed on the battle zone, if your member in battle is My Hero, choose one of your gates, top card face down, give you the ability to detonate. It's an RNG, so you might miss, but it's still another card to add towards the TR count. It lets you get to 7 a bit faster, and this card's just free. Last card I'll be talking about today, since the video is kind of running long, but I did want to make a longer video. This is pay 4 when this tactic is placed on battle zone. If there's 3 or more cards in your battle zone and your opponent's battle zone separately, so you each need 3, you can pay the cost. If so, both you and your opponent shuffle cards in the respective battle zones back into their decks. Oh no, shuffle them and then put them on the bottom of the deck, including this, and then you both RNG2. So you put the top 2 cards of each player's respective decks into their respective battle zones. It can't. Okay, so if you're in a bad state and you need to play this card, reset the battle. If your opponent's in a bad state, they play this card, they reset the battle, but the outcome is completely random. You could hit amazing, you could hit terrible, you could hit only limit, you could hit nothing. This card can get there, but you still got 1 limit to work with. Try and keep +2 limits in your hand if you're using or against this card, and also try and keep some power and aura. Basically ways to balance out what your opponent might RNG. Anyway, we're coming on 55 minutes here. I didn't want to make the video too long, but I really wanted to make this video for all of the people going to the national tournament this weekend. I will not be there because I have other plans next week. I'll actually be in Anaheim Next weekend, on the 17th, 18th, 19th, for the final English Luck and Logic regionals at the Anaheim Convention Center for the Bush Year Championship Series. If you guys are going to be there, I'll be there talking to all the Luck and Logic players, so feel free to come up to me, talk to me. If you guys are going to the Nationals, good luck to all of you. Quite a few of my friends are going, so good luck to you guys as well. Come back home with a good story to tell. I had a good story. I had a bunch of good stories from Houston, so you guys must have interesting things happen. But yeah, to close this off, if you would like any of the translations or see what cards are in Luck and Logic, I found all of my translations on heartofthecards.com. Sometimes the translation is wrong, like I point out once in this video, but you can always send them an email and they'll fix it up. You can also join the North America Luck and Logic group on Facebook. We're super active on there. Moderators are willing to help anyone who might want help, deck building tips, links to other videos and resources, conversations that are pretty interesting. But yeah, until next time, guys, I'll be trying to put these out every Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, basically whenever I'm free, but at least once a week for sure. But yeah, until next time, guys, good luck in your future endeavors, and may Magico's unluck not ruin your day.